The contents of this show are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Any information on the show does not create a client-therapist relationship and should not be taken as professional advice. Before making any decisions regarding your healthcare, ask your personal physician or mental health care professional, or call 911 for any emergencies.
We are three friends exploring connection, from the coffee shop to the podcast studio. I'm Amy.
I'm Anna.
I'm Erin.
Hey, we wanted to give you a quick heads up that this episode was recorded before any stay-at-home orders were in place and before we had any idea what the coronavirus would be doing to our lives today. Just something to keep in mind while listening. Also, we have a super cool new way to support the show. For as little as $3 a month, you can become a patron and help us keep doing what we're doing. Patreon.com/LessAlonePodcast. And there's a link on our website right at the top, lessalonepodcast.com.
Cool. I'm ready when you are.
Cool. Right. Well, we are just going to jump right in and let everybody know that we've got Ben Higgins on the line.
You're just like the most beloved bachelor of all time.
And I have to say that Anna has been saying that you're the most beloved bachelor ever since that we scheduled you on the calendar. And so
I'm like, don't you know?
And I'm not a bachelor follower.
But wait, Ben,
myself, but
we are super curious. So, we know you as the Bachelor,
the most beloved Bachelor.
Yeah. But we also know that there is so much more to you, and just by looking into all your businesses and what you've done in the past, we just kind of want to get to know you beyond the Bachelor.
That's fair. I mean, thank you for assuming that there's anything more than the Bachelor. That's a nice assumption. I would like to hope there is, but I'll let you guys decide.
Okay, fair. Well, let's start a little bit with your coffee company, because it does seem like that is, our podcast started in a coffee shop. Well, the idea was born from a coffee shop. We're huge coffee fans, and it seems like Generous Coffee, your company, is doing a lot of really great things in the coffee industry. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, I could go on for hours, but I know we don't have hours, so I'll just give you a quick rundown here.
Cool.
A few years ago, a couple buddies and I decided that we could use for-profit business to try to do some type of positive purpose with it. So we actually called Generous a for-purpose company. We're for-profit, but we donate our profits from the sale of our products back to nonprofits that are fighting human-facing injustice on the ground. And the injustices that we've kind of attacked are lack of clean water, lack of education, lack of healthcare, lack of safe infrastructure, and lack of jobs. And so those are kind of the areas and the lanes that we invest into. In short, we chose coffee because, just like your podcast, we believe coffee cultivates good conversation, that coffee cultivates good stories, that coffee is massively consumed, that we believe that coffee tells a really good story with it.
Yes.
And then also we found out just kind of the injustices facing the coffee world, that the producers growing these coffees oftentimes don't have clean water or jobs or education, because typically their beans aren't being sold at a fair price. And so there were so many different elements here that allowed us to start Generous Coffee. And cool enough, we now have 2 coffee shops in Denver, and most of our profits or revenue comes through our online sales, and also our wholesales, where we service large corporations or churches, schools, etc.
So I saw on your website that there looks like there's pictures of you visiting the farmers that grow the coffee beans. And so is there any stories that you have from that stand out that help illustrate your mission?
100%. I mean, there's hundreds, and I go down probably 4 times a year. And so I was just down there in October. And
where is down there?
Honduras,
okay.
Mostly. We have a lot of coffee from all over the world, but Honduras is where our closest connections lie, and it's where our main partners sit. And so one of the cool stories is this, and I always use this story because I think it's one that just radiates with me. Seeing the coffee producers has been an incredible experience. They grow coffee in the most beautiful places in the world. Again, these producers aren't getting paid anywhere close to what they should be. And we're trying to hopefully advocate and change that. And so one is seeing them growing some of the best product in the world and still having a hard time feeding their family. That's a story that I want to continue to share, so that people realize what we need to do and how we purchase coffee. But this is the one that stands out to me. Through one of our partners, Humane Hope United, we invested some money to build a water well. We built this water well in this community in Honduras. And a year and a half later, I went back, and a team of us went back, and we were hanging out. We were talking to one of the ladies there who's a friend of ours, who we've known for 10 plus years. And she's 35 years old. And I just asked, I said, "Hey, how has it been having a water tank?" And she looked at me in the eyes and she said, "For the first time in 35 years, I've woken up without a stomachache."
Oh my gosh.
I'm getting teary, Ben. That's so good.
So it really has changed our paradigm. I mean, there's 1,000 more things that we could talk about, but that's one just really tangible example that this woman who's 35 years old, how could you ever be your best self when you wake up every day with diarrhea and a stomach ache? And so
that sounds horrible.
Oh my God, that is incredible to think about how much you're changing the lives of those people.
Well, and it's something that we just take for granted. You know, like water.
Right. Definitely.
100%. And I want to always communicate that, generous is kind of the engine, but it's really everybody kind of partnering together, purchasing the coffee, advocating on behalf of the people, going on trips, and all those things that are really making the magic happen. And so it's been awesome to be a part of it and to have a piece of it. But it's really, we always like to speak in an inclusive language of all of us, because all of us have the power to do that. And that makes it really fun.
Well, and as far as our podcast goes, being one of connection, it's so neat to think about Generous Coffee and all of you who kind of participate in making it happen, but the connections and also the full circle, that if you are selling the beans that then the people in Honduras are growing, and then you're able to sell the beans and with your profit supply clean water to them. I mean, just like the connection of that entire of your entire community, and then making it really happen for each other is really quite a mission.
100%. Yeah, we could go on and on about and talk about connection too. Connections really kind of how my life in the last 2 years has been formed, and why I invest or participate in things. And so, connection is the key to what I believe the world needs again. Is we got to get reconnected. And so, coffee's been a great avenue for that.
And that's so cool, because that's exactly why we have you on our podcast. But we do know, your life is pretty interesting. Did you grow up in Indiana? Is that right?
I grew up in Indiana. I moved to Denver out of college to pursue a job out here.
And was that software sales?
It was, I was selling back office processing software.
So that's what I did in my past too. Just gotta say, So I sold CRM, but anyway, So and then, how did you end up getting on The Bachelor, or what was?
How'd you decide that you wanted to apply to be on The Bachelor? Is what I'm curious.
Well, let me give you a really high overview here. So this is what happened. I moved out to Denver to pursue a job. I had just got out of a relationship. When I got broken up with, I'm an only child. And when I got broken up with, the girl said, "Hey, I don't think you're ever going to leave home." And she was right. And you've kind of lost your it factor. And I said, "Well, that sucks."
Ouch.
But she was right. And it was actually the best tough love she could give me, because I was an only child who loved being in Indiana. And unless I got pushed, I think I'd have been really comfortable staying there. And so, my response to her was to say, no, you're not going to be right here. And I really immediately took a job in Denver. Well, moved up to Denver, and let me set the stage for you. I come out, I get an apartment in a place of town I have no clue where I'm going to live. I get this apartment. I'm living. It ends up being a place where a lot of older people live. So I'm kind of alone. at my apartment. I have no friends. I know nobody out here. I have a job that I'm okay with that I don't love. And I'm not dating because I'm living so far outside the city that there's no like places to meet anybody where I'm living. So one day I'm sitting at my desk and our head marketing officer comes by and she goes, Ben, she literally says this, you're the saddest 24-year-old I've ever met. And I was like, what does that yeah. I was like, what does that mean? And she said, you have all these things going for you. You have a good job. Like you're fun to be around. And yet you sit here all day. You don't date. You don't make friends. Like your life is not. And I think she said this because she knew I could take it. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, she said, here's the deal. She goes, the casting calls are for the Bachelor downtown right now. Will you come with me? And I said, I'm not going to a casting call. Not going to a casting call. I said, there's no chance I'm going to a casting call. And she said, well, if I sign you up for the show and they call you, will you go through with it? And I said, I will. And that's what she did. She went in, she signed me up. We did a video. We did all this stuff. But before I knew it, I was going on the show. And really, when you ask why I did it, it was because all those things I just spoke about, like there was so much to my life that I just kind of wasn't fun and wasn't exciting that I thought, let's see if this can shake life up a bit. Like it seems,
yeah, a little bit.
Create a new story. Yeah, a little bit.
You nailed that.
Yeah. No, that's a funny joke. But at the time it was just like, let's see what happens and see if we can shake it up.
Wow. So one of the things you famously talked about when you were a contestant on Caitlin's season is that you worried you were unlovable. How have, and that's one of the things I was really interested in talking to you about, like your connection to feelings of love and worthiness and being lovable and inherently lovable. How has that changed, if it's changed at all?
Definitely. Well, there's a couple things. I have to give credit to the show because I believe that if you watch every season, you're going to see contestants get off the show and be better versions of themselves.
Yeah,
either more confident, more aware, hopefully, more relatable, just those kind of things. And for me, it was really on the show through a long interview with a friend of mine. He was a producer on the show, where he looked at me and he goes, I just don't know you. I've been around you for a month and I just don't know you. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you just don't speak of anything of substance. And I said, well, I want to. Yeah. He's like, but he goes, what does that make you feel when I say that? I was like, well, it makes me, it hits my deepest core, which makes me feel unlovable or unlikable. And I think what's happened was I've said that then because that's how I felt. There's a lot of things that have came from, obviously good relationships and time and processing has helped heal some of the like paralyzing wounds that has felt. But I think what it's turned into for me is maybe I use the wrong verbiage where it's not unlovable, but I feel like nobody will ever truly get to know me. And as a result, I'll never get to truly know anybody else. And so we'll kind of walk past each other and give our head nod, but never actually sit down to say, this is who I am and this is who you are. And as a result, like we're better because we're connected. And I think that's where I've fallen is I believe I'm worthy of love. I still question if I'll ever be able to fully know myself, know others, or if anybody will actually want to know me.
Who's ready for some intriguing flavors of tea? I am, and I hope you are too. So check out tekotea.us. That's tekotea.us. And I will tell you, there are wild-picked Icelandic herbs blended with delicious green and black teas. So check it out, tekotea.us.
You want to get out of debt? I can help you get out of debt so fast. So get yourself hooked up with the debt-free roadmap, and it will walk you through all the steps. I want to help you get to where you want to be. Debtfreeroadmap.com.
Clean what you can. You'll find products and services that will help you, 1, identify your top 5 values, 2, give you direction in life, and 3, clean, keep things tidy and purified, namely air and water. So check it out, cleanwhatyoucan.com. Hey, Anna.
Yeah.
You know Erin's a pretty badass therapist, right?
I totally know. I just take notes when she's talking.
Me too. Some of our audience does as well. So did you know that there's also a place that you can get information directly from her?
On her website, right?
Yeah. And didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so there's all these free workshops that they're offering, and at thekaliinstitute.com, you can sign up for those. Kali is how you spell Kali, and then institute, thekaliinstitute.com.
Get it done.
So it sounds like you had to build a relationship with yourself. And so in that process, what did that look like for you?
Well, I think it's one, realizing I'm not alone. And so, yes, 100% building a relationship with myself was important. So it stripped
Good thing
away.
you're on the Less Alone podcast, Ben. Good job.
That's a good point. Wow, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, so as I've walked through the path of trying to get to know myself, it's really kind of highlighting a few mentalities that I want to focus on. So one is I can no longer be the victim, and so I was getting in a very victim state where everything was woe is me, and that allowed me to never truly have any awareness of self. The second is realizing I'm not alone, and realizing there's other people out there struggling with the same thing. And I would say another example, or just a practice that I've put into, is just kind of living in silence. So to connect with myself, I've had to live in silence, and silence is scary because your mind starts to go into places that maybe you aren't familiar with, or maybe you haven't touched in a while and confronted in a bit. And so, yeah, I think that in order to process those, I think my silence and my aloneness are vital.
What is the most surprising thing that you found out about yourself in silence?
I think that's a great question. I think maybe that was one of the most surprising.
Erin's a therapist, by the way.
Just FYI, buckle up. No.
She asked really good questions.
That's a good one. I think how much, I think one of the most surprising things to me was how much unwarranted hurt I had fantasized into my mind. So meaning I had created storylines in my head that were not true, and I was living based on that narrative. And when I sat in silence and actually had to there's nobody I'm trying to prove anything to when I sit in silence with myself. No, I'm not going to make myself feel any cooler if I tell a funny story that's not true. So I had to sit there in honesty, and as I did that, I realized that my honest narrative was a little bit different than the life and the perception I was living in. I think that's been really healthy, but really a really hard thing to divorce from.
Do you have a motto that you live your life by?
No, not at all. Well, actually, Generous's new motto coming up is "Live to Give," and I think that's a pretty good motto. So, maybe I'll start doing that. I really don't. I do have a background and a current. I really believe in Jesus, and so that's really kind of my heart and kind of where my thoughts stem from. I always say in any podcast I do, if it's with any people of faith or not of faith, it's none of this is really going to make sense unless you know that about me, and then that kind of guides and directs my path. But I've also, one of the cool things in the last few years is I've been exposed because of my upbringing in Indiana, which I grew up in the Methodist capital of the world, so you can imagine what that was like.
Yeah.
I had to confront my faith and question if it was real or not, and then decide for myself, this is something that I still believe in. But then also because of being in LA all the time, or going to New York City or these bigger cities, or getting away from Indiana, I've been confronted with people of other belief systems, and then being curious about why and what they believe has really also been a really fun, exciting, good, and curious journey for me. And that's a motto I live by, is I don't want to get comfortable again. Being comfortable isn't fun.
Good. Yeah.
Wow. So what's something that you wish people would ask you about that they don't?
What you just asked me?
Oh, no, good.
All right.
Well, that's good, because I have a follow-up question about it. So would you say that, because I don't remember, I feel like for some of the contestants on the show, faith is a big thing, but I don't necessarily remember that being a part of your story on the show. has your faith changed, or have you, been more open about it in the past couple years, or do I remember your show incorrectly? Yeah.
I would say my faith is, it's grown. I've been more confident in it. I've been able to speak clear to it. I've been able to confront confrontation on it and not debate, but converse and find curiosity in other people's beliefs. And that's been a really fun piece of my last few years because of the confidence that I hold personally.
Sure.
But on the show, it was definitely a conversation I spoke about often. I wasn't shown, mostly because I think it was probably shown just enough, meaning people, if you watch this season, you would have heard or at some point known that I was somebody that had a faith and a belief. But it wasn't like, once it was said, it kind of felt like, well, how many times can you pound this into the show? It didn't create a storyline outside of maybe just like why I was saying and doing what I was doing. But yeah, I don't think it was as like you have like recent characters on the show who preach and speak and belittle and demand, and I think those are easy storylines to show because they're intriguing to watch. I think for me it's more of a passive. It was an open faith, but a passive and silent understanding.
Got it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because we're coming close to time. Like what? So if you're the way that your marketing director, who put you up to being on The Bachelor, and then you were on the show, and then what is that like to be like? If you don't know anyone in the city that you live in, and now everybody in the world knows who you are, and stops you to take pictures, and it's not
like Amy at DIA.
That's right.
Not that long
that
of
will
a time
be posted.
And so I'm curious about what was that like for you? Because it's a lot.
You're right. It hasn't been that long of a time frame, right? I mean, it's only been really 4.5 years of my life that this has happened. It's a lot. It's a big change. You have to kind of dive into it. I will tell you this, it is awesome.
Good.
It is so good to have friends and to have people. I mean, I tell the story. I was in this like little gas station in Oklahoma once, and I walk in to grab like a candy bar and a water, and somebody there goes, "Oh my gosh, Ben." And that is like, it is, I can't tell you how cool. Now, granted, the fame part of it is not fulfilling. There's a lot that comes with that feels like a burden. But the idea that now people are interested in my life and that I can then speak from a place often of that they want to listen to, that it's legitimate. And then also to connect with so many people in so many different areas of the world really now is awesome. And I will tell you that is such a good change. There's things that I don't love about it, but for the most part, people have been incredibly awesome to get to know, and I've really enjoyed the last 4.5 years of this story that I'm participating in.
It's like the ultimate story of connection. Yeah. Like what connection has been for you. I feel like if you think about what you were saying earlier about when you first moved to Denver and feeling alone, and now all of a sudden you walk into a random gas station in Oklahoma and someone knows you by your first name. And I would imagine that you feel love maybe from like strangers and from everybody. But I think it's an extreme illustration of the power of connection.
Yeah. Well, and we had an interesting question from someone in our Facebook group, lessalonepodcastgroup.com. And Megan Marie, she wants to know, how do you get past all the opinions about your love life? Since people feel like they know you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, one, you don't want to get I've learned here recently or in the last 4.5 years, even some of the most critical, untrue opinions aren't necessarily things I just want to like get past. Like I don't want the attitude of they don't know, because that doesn't do me much good. It does at every level. There is what I know to be true, if I'm honest with myself, and what I know to not be true. But I have to process through that lens of what's true, what's not. Because if somebody is saying something about my character that is critical, and I'm not even listening to them because it hurts, well, that's not fair to me or to the person. And so when it looks at my love life and all the opinions out there, and if people really know me or not, there's moments that people are just plain wrong. They don't understand. They don't know, but I get why they're invested, because, I agreed to put my story out there to millions of people and my love life to millions of people. And they kind of rode this ride with me. And so they have a right. I've opened my life up for them to have a right to say, hey, we're happy for you. Or, hey, we don't think this is the right thing. Or, hey, maybe you should try to put a ring on this girl's finger as fast as possible. I've given them that right, and I want them to feel like they are involved, because, quite frankly, they are. Now, where the line gets crossed is when the words get to be damaging. And that happens often, but rarely, meaning it happens in every time anytime anything public is said, but for every 1,000 really nice comments, there's always going to be the one that stings a little bit harder. And so, you just continue to listen, but also know what the truth is, and be aware of that truth.
Yeah. So, wow, that's so good.
So good. And I just have to say, I really admire and appreciate your honesty. I mean, with us in these quick 25 minutes, and also in the way that it sounds like people have been able to say what could be taken as really harsh feedback, but the way that it sounds like honestly look at yourself. Yeah. And just, we can all learn from that. So thank you so much.
So Ben, we're just closing in on our time with you, and I have one random question for you that has nothing to do with The Bachelor or anything we talked about. So if you're up for it, the question is, if the human body updated to version 2.0, what improvements would you like to see?
Oh, wow. The human body is up. That's really great. I have terrible knees. I would like to see this knee thing get figured out. My knees hurt. I played basketball 2 nights ago. I woke up this morning feeling like I had just gotten hit by a truck.
Oh, no.
I would say that. I would also say, in all seriousness, and again, I want to go back to the very beginning of this conversation. I didn't preface all this. I've said a lot, and you guys have asked great questions. I'm giving my best answers. I don't know a lot. And so we're all trying here. And I'm saying stuff from my experience, and kind of what I've felt and seen and processed and tried to understand. And some of the stuff I said, I'll probably, if I listen to this 5 years from now, I'd probably go, wow, you were crazy. And I'm just trying. So I don't want anybody listening to this and be like, oh, wow, this guy thinks he knows it all. No, I really don't. I'm just trying here. The second is, if, I have there's a lot of disease. I don't want to just say disease. My grandfather suffered from Parkinson's disease and passed away over a year ago. There are some diseases with the nervous system that are just really, really brutal to watch. And I would love to see us figure out how we could complement and fight some of those things, because it just really takes the humanity out of the human at times.
Wow, even that answer is so kind.
Jeez.
Guys, Ben, we really like you. Yeah. This is why you're the most beloved bachelor of all time.
You won me over, Ben. You won me over.
She's now a super fan.
I'm a super fan now. Follow all your links.
Well, I was going to say, I think my season's on Amazon Prime now, so if you want to go back and check it out.
Oh, hey, that's good to know.
Oh, Ben, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We really appreciate it so much, and you are just a joy. So thank you.
And we will be, since we're all in Denver, we will definitely do what we can to support Generous Coffee.
Yes.
It's
awesome.
Yeah.
Do they open at 6 a.m. by chance?
It's at 7, so you'll have. It's a little bit later, but stop into Generous Coffee. You have one in Golden, one in South Denver, and go to generouscoffee.com to buy your coffee to get it delivered to your house.
Okay,
awesome,
perfect. That's so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find more about this episode and a way to connect to the community at lessalonepodcast.com. And if you like us, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave a review. It helps other people find us and could be just what they need.